I have a great story to tell you about something that happened on the Hill the other day, and I hope you will find it very encouraging to you when things just don't seem to make sense and you doubt whether you've done the right thing, and perhaps people have been against you and you've been barbed by it. But here's what happened. I met with the legislator the other day to talk about the Marital Contract Recording Act, Senate Bill 562, House Bill 233. And this legislator and I both share a strong belief about marriage as having been created by God, as reflecting the beauty and the glory of God, and male and female coming together, the possibility of families coming out of that marital relationship. But he and I were on the opposite sides of legislation about 6 years ago, after the United States Supreme Court in Obergefell versus Hodges said that it was unconstitutional for a state to have statutes that only issued marriage licenses to opposite-sex couples. Now, there's a lot of law stuff behind the story, but the long and short of it is I didn't think we needed a new law because the law in Tennessee actually had never been in front of a federal court. It had never been amended or changed. We just needed to enforce the law. We didn't need to reenact the law as if somehow it had been erased by the Supreme Court. Well, because I took that position rather than standing firm to pass a new law, I was castigated by a lot of Christians who thought I'd lost my Christian moorings, my bearings. Even some pastor from Ohio got on to me on his radio show that I'd lost my moral compass. Well, that was painful. And so yesterday in this meeting, the legislator said, yeah, I'm still disappointed at how that turned out a few years ago. And it was a little barb in my spirit, not intended to be that way and not said in any ungracious way. But it just brought all that back. And then this morning, I read these words and was reminded of them from the sermon that I'd heard on Sunday, that Paul went to Troas and the Lord opened a door for him. But yet he was troubled in his spirit about what was going on between himself and the people in Corinth. And he left. He couldn't stay where the Lord had opened a door. And then he made this statement. He said, "But thanks be to God, who always leads us in triumph in Christ." Now, where's the triumph in this story? Here it is. The problem, not with the Supreme Court's ruling, but with Tennessee's law, is that Tennessee's law has dragged what God created and gave to man and woman down to a human level, such that now the way the law read then and the way the law reads now and the way the new reenacted version of the law was going to read is that man and woman can't marry without getting a permit from the government. I've said this before, but it's as if the state said, we have created this thing called marriage, and we will exercise authority over this marriage, and marriage does not exist and cannot take place unless you get permission from the civil government. That's the civil government asserting an authority and a jurisdiction over what God created that it can't have. And it was that view that led the Supreme Court to treat those statutes as if they had created marriage, and therefore, because the state creates marriage, it could create it any way it wanted to. And now what we're doing is we're actually pushing forward with a better law than the law we had. A law that says marriage belongs to a man and a woman, and it arises not because it's been permitted by the government, but because they've exchanged a promise as between themselves to take each other in a matter of loyalty and fidelity in a covenantal bond as husband and wife. And then they go to the courthouse to record the fact that they're married. And I saw in this moment that what seemed to be confusion and division among Christians about what to do in response to Obergefell, God was saying, I am actually leading you to something more triumphant, because I want the relationship I created to be set free from the restrictions and bounds that man has placed upon it, to make it as if it is theirs and not mine. And now I can see the value of going back to court with a better law than the one we would have had we enacted the same law all over again back in 2016. Indeed, when we don't understand what's going on, let us remember that God has planned it. He will do it, as he said in Isaiah, and he's always leading his people in triumph.